Hi guys. So today I wanted to do a video on budgeting. So I know that everything is really tough right now with the, culture, climate situation that we have going on in the world. Financially, for most people, we are seeing some kind of impact. And so I thought, well, I have gone through a bit of a 360 with my finances from many years back when I got into a bit of trouble. I just didn't have the right mindset. I would think, I've got enough, without checking kind of what needed to be paid, and I would prioritize the wrong things. Like I would say, I really need that dress, and that is super important. And to be honest, it wasn't important because I really had enough clothes to begin with, and my rent was probably super important. So I suppose you could say I'm a bit of a spending type of person in recovery. So anyway, spendaholic, shopaholic, I was thinking, what's the word I'm looking for? So one thing I did is I went to a financial planner to find out where the leak was. Because even if you're on a really low income, this is something people say, well, you just need to earn more. Yeah, but if you earn more, you're probably going to spend more. And this is it tends to be what happens. And it has happened to me as well. I've gone, well, now I can upgrade the internet that I have. Now I can get those streaming services I've always wanted to have. Now I can buy City Chic clothes instead of buying Kmart and Fashion Fair clothes. So you all of a sudden kind of buy things that are more expensive. And so your wallet just kind of extends, unless you're a smart person, in which case that's what I'm trying to help you guys with. So one thing I did was went to the financial planner, had a look. One thing, like, you don't even really realize how much little things like buying a coffee out will cost you. So I added it up, and it was about like $50 a week. It was really bad because I was pretty sure I was going to study at the time in the city, and I was also working at the community center part-time as well. So there was I was out of the house every single day, and I was doing like part-time courses on the side as well that I volunteered for, and I wasn't sleeping very well at that time because I was quite stressed because I was really kind of trying to sort out my finances, just doing the single parent thing, and it can sometimes be difficult when you're doing it all on your own and you're trying to fix your financial situation and you feel like you're just sinking in a hole. And that is exactly where I got to. I was sinking, and look, if anybody is feeling the exact same way, I'm just trying to do something so that I can provide a little bit of hope for people who do feel really stuck and claustrophobic in their own debt. And so the first thing I did, like I said, is figure out where the hole is. Now, how do you do that? Well, get a piece of paper and write every single thing down. Now what I did is I put it into categories to start with, and then I drew up a chart. Now the chart is very, very simple, so you put it into categories. So weekly expenses. So in weekly expenses you would put rent, food, if you smoke cigarettes, if you drink coffee, cigarettes, whatever, fuel, transport, anything like that in the week. And then the next expenses would be just other expenses like your kids' school clothes, your yearly RACQ membership, your insurance per month, your phone bill, your internet. And then what you will do is you'll get different columns, right? So the different columns will be, first column is weekly. So on the side, you're going to have what bill it is. So leave enough room on the left-hand side of the page for what bill it is. And then your first column is going to be weekly. Second is obviously fortnightly, and then you got monthly, and then quarterly and yearly. Now, if you don't have any yearly bills, well, don't worry about it. If you don't have any quarterly bills, don't worry about it. But I mean, I think it's best probably to put all of those in, just in case you get a yearly bill and then you've got to do your budget all the way up again. So, you know, you draw these lines, right? So I put rent here, and then I will put weekly my rent price, right? And that will go all the way across. Okay, so then next thing you'll put, you know, you put all your first expenses first. Then next you'll put phone bill, right? So that's monthly. Now, if you find or electricity, if you find you have issues paying your bills, which a lot of people do, right? If they've got a small income, they have issues. So what I would do is I would create another account, and so you go to monthly in your lineup, right? And you will write $140 for my phone bill and my internet combined. So $140. Then I would break that down into fortnightly, $70. You write that there. And then I'd break it down to weekly. And so weekly is $35. I was like, wait, what are we up to? So $35 you put in there. So you would put $35 into your bills account every week, right? And what that means is you're not going to be spending the money that you need for your phone bill or your electricity. You can sometimes pay it to the company too. So then it's not even in that account for you to cheekily grab, you know? So that's something as well. Some places have an estimate that you can get. So for instance, you would say, okay, I use like $35 worth of electricity per month. You know, that's probably really good if you do. And then they will give you a rounded figure, and that rounded figure will be for the whole year, and they just break it into 4. And that's really good because you know what your electricity is going to be, you know, so that's fantastic. Like when you can get that opportunity, certain companies do it. Another option is hardship. Most places have hardship programs or options. When I was in a really severely financial situation, I rang up my bank and I talked to them about my credit card, because my credit card is maxed out from my marriage. So I didn't even max it out. It was for a qualification for him, but you know, I've had it ever since. So something that I find that I have to do is I really do have to pay that off, but I couldn't afford the interest, you know. It was weighing me down on top of everything else that I was paying, and I was paying all of my bills weekly or fortnightly. So people that I owed money, I'd give them like $20. As long as you're paying it, you know, you're paying something, then you'll notice, you know, this is gone, this is gone, this is gone. And now I only have just a few things left to pay, and I feel so good about it, to not have that hanging over my head. I've been chipping away at this for years, and I look at it kind of like a lifestyle change, right? Like you would if you were changing your food or your exercise. Are you going to go all out and then burn yourself out? Because people, they start this diet and they go, I'm going to go on a soup diet. You know, are you going to be able to go on that soup diet for the rest of your life? Because I feel like at some point you're going to get over drinking liquids, and then you're going to go back to food and you're going to gain all the weight back. So this is how I look at it with budgeting. If you cut out everything good and you just say, I'm just going to pay my bills, eventually you're going to say, what do I work for? Why am I even bothering? I've got nothing to look forward to, and it really affects your mental health. And it affects the fact that you think that you're not even making any progress. You're like, this is going to last forever. I hate this. And look, I've been there. I've so been there. I can't afford to go out and have coffee with my friend. Like, I just have to say, oh, sorry, I can't. Online dating, I was doing that for a while. And these guys would say, oh, do you want to go to lunch? And I wouldn't know if they were going to pay for me or not. But I'd be so broke, and I didn't want them to pay for me. So I'd be so broke, and I'd be thinking, oh my God, how am I going to meet this person? Like, I can't go out to lunch. I have no money. Like, this is so bad. And so what I did is I created this little, you just adjust to your life, right? So I got a little flask, I filled it with coffee, and I brought 2 plastic cups. And I would go and I'd meet people at the beach in a public place, so I was still safe, during the day, safety first. And I found it was really good because I wasn't in this crowded room full of all of these people chatting. I didn't have to expend any money, neither did they. There was never that weirdness at the beginning. Do I pay? Is she going to pay for herself? So there was none of that. We met on equal ground, and I didn't have to pay any money, which was great because I was so poor. I would organize games nights or, evenings at my house or at a friend's house. So there are all of these things that you can do to still have fun and still have a good life without expending your income above what you actually have to spend. So that's something to look at as well. Like I said, the drain was these coffees that I was buying while I was out, because they're $6 each. So I'd go out, buy myself a big coffee, $6, and I'd do that several times a week, and all of a sudden it just adds up. And the other thing I was doing was I was buying my daughter, because she didn't have that many DVDs of her favorite movies and stuff. So every fortnight when I got paid, I would buy her a DVD and maybe a toy and take her to the movies, or take her out for lunch, or do something with her. And every time I calculated that, later on when I was doing my finances and I calculated it, every time I was spending $100, $150, and I didn't realize. I was like, oh my goodness, I am spending so much money. I had no idea that I was spending that much money. And sometimes that's what happens. And when we don't have a clear look at how much available money we have, it really just creates chaos and confusion, and we can't get anywhere with that. The other thing is, have laws to yourself. For instance, for me, I don't want to go back to getting in a pile of debt. So when I do put an afterpay on, I put an afterpay that I know I can afford, so I look at my future expenses, and secondly, I make sure I pay it off early. I don't want to get no late fees. So I will go into my afterpay, and I will pay it as soon as I get my next pay. Sometimes not, depending on how big the afterpay was. Christmas time, I was like, I'm just gonna pay it out slowly. But yeah, I mean, I'd prefer to buy stuff outright without afterpay. That's obviously preferred, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes you got stuff to pay. I bought another car last year because I had a car accident, and I wasn't working for a while, so it was just, afterpay was really the way that I was still able to have Christmas. So be reasonable with yourself. I beat myself up about that. I thought, oh God, I've put all of this money, because I said I'm only going to do one afterpay at a time. I had 3 afterpays last year, so I was really mad with myself because I broke my own law. I pretty much just slapped myself in the face. So, but I mean, that's the other thing. You've got to stop and say, okay, well, look, this was a really hard time for me. How often do you have a car accident and not work, Well, maybe not often. How often does COVID happen in this world? Well, maybe not often, it's not something that's going to happen on a regular basis where we're going through a once-off thing, and so I think that that's important to look at as well, and say, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to be able to pay off all my debts this week. Maybe I'm not going to be able to save at the moment. And sometimes people will say, really focus on saving. And I say, focus on paying your bills first. Because if you owe bills, then that's more important than saving. Because you've still got stuff that you're riling up interest on. So it doesn't benefit you to save money when you've got this thing over here that's costing you interest. Like I said, look at hardship options. If you go to a financial planner, they can sometimes look at scrapping debts and things like that for you as well. So different community centers and homeless shelters and things like that might be able to link people in with services that help people who are in a hardship or a crisis situation. But also, like, if you've had a debt for 7 years in different states and countries and things like that, it's all different, but research it, look it up online, find out on whether you make the cut. Sometimes it'll get scrapped. You never have to pay it as long as you don't address it as your own debt, right? And by addressing it, it means you make a payment on it. If you've made a payment on it, well, then it's addressed as your own debt. But it'll go, I think, off your record in about 7 years. So there's that too. But look, it's best if we can just make payments and not get ourselves blacklisted and have a good financial record and not have the stress and the burden over our heads. So that's kind of what I'm saying at the moment. There are places as well that you can go to where you can get cheap food and things like that as well. Budget. I mean, I always get large portions of meat and things and break them up into little sandwich bags and pop them in my freezer. Sometimes we just need to make do with the situation that we have and try not to overexert ourselves. Like, for instance, if you're financially in a bad situation, don't go out and buy new clothes. Go to a secondhand shop and get secondhand stuff. Like, it's not that hard to do that. Or go online and get a $20 dress from China. That's what I do. Instead of going to the shop and paying $120 or something for a nice dress. I can't afford that. So I don't have to buy any dresses now because my friend gave me all her clothes, so that's great. So yeah, just wait long enough and someone will give you stuff. I'm kidding. But anyway, guys, look, if you have any questions, I'll take a photo of my budget instead of just looking at where my hands are on the screen. I'll take a photo of it and post it so that you guys can see what I'm talking about, and I'll give you an example of my own budget, and I hope that this helps. If you've got any questions, please ask. Like I said, I did go to a financial planner. I have gone through all the hardship steps. There are paperwork and things like that you can fill out. Sometimes the government has grants to pay off different debts as well, so it's always something to look into. All right, bye guys.